Dirty tricks, scandals, and foreign interference, that is all par for the course for the Liberal campaign. Welcome to my channel, y'all. I hope you're having a great day. Well, we all know that elections sometimes get dirty, and neither side is immune from participating in dirty tricks. But it's been my experience that the left tends to do it a lot more often. We saw it in the BC election just recently, and now we're seeing it quite a bit in the federal election. Take a look at this story from Barbara Ball's X account, and then we'll talk about it.
Hello, Nepean. It's Barbara Ball, your Conservative candidate. In a democracy, the right to free speech is sacred. It's common knowledge that the Barbara Ball team is very organized. Our signs were up very early in the campaign. Many of our wooden stakes are marked with blue tops and NCA for Nepean Conservative Association written on them. Now, we are discovering that hundreds of our signs are missing. We have found many of our signs in the garbage. We have also discovered empty holes and, in other instances, wooden stakes with blue tips and NCA written on them, bearing my opponent's red sign. When people resort to criminal behavior, they are undermining the democratic process itself. This is unacceptable. Our community deserves better. We must stand united against such actions, which tarnish the democratic ideals that we hold dear.
Now, I know a lot of people might be thinking, well, that's pretty minor. They're just taking down signs, but it's actually a criminal offense. We've got theft. We've got theft by conversion. They're using the stakes that she has attached to her signs as their stakes. We have mischief to property. All of these are criminal acts. And I'm not even talking about any violations potentially under the Elections Act. So this is very, very important. And guess who the Liberal candidate who is running in that riding is? Mark Carney. Should this eliminate him from being a candidate? Well, probably not, because it's not likely he's out there pulling up signs. And I mean, I doubt very much that he's even asking people to do that, but you never know. He is a corrupt individual, and I think that the more we get to know him, the more we get to know that. As a matter of fact, one of my most recent videos had to do with election interference and how Carney was benefiting from that. But Carney doesn't seem to want to answer any questions and is pretending that he doesn't know anything about it. Take a look at this video, and then we'll talk about it.
From my understanding, some of the campaign was pushing positive narratives about you. Why do you think that China, the PRC, seems to like you? Why are they praising you?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have absolutely no idea, and I think I'll leave it at that.
Now, of course, he's going to say he has no idea. Why would he respond any way else? But the way he responded is quite telling. He doesn't go into talking about how election interference is bad and how it should, be fought on every front in Canada. He just says, I don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about it. Repeats it twice. He has that tendency to repeat the same thing a number of times. And here he just looks a little bit stunned and, kind of guilty, like he's hiding something. I think he knew all about this all along, and he probably didn't think he'd get caught because WeChat is a Chinese app, and how many people in the Canadian government are going to be searching for that and finding it? I don't think that he thought he was going to be caught. Speaking of criminal activity, Pierre Poilievre came up with an announcement today in Sault Ste. Marie. Every day, Pierre comes up with an announcement that seems to be quite a bit better than the last. As a matter of fact, I would think that almost all of his announcements, which build upon previous announcements, should be able to put him over the top and should be able to blow Carney out of the water, because Pierre has really good ideas and he's releasing them bit by bit as the campaign goes on. And today he released a policy that I think will really change the landscape as far as criminals go in Canada. It will really put a damper on crime, which is what we need after 10 years of the Liberals. Take a look at this announcement by Pierre Poilievre, and then we'll talk about it.
A lost Liberal decade of soft on crime, hug-a-thug policies has made life more dangerous. That's one reason why we can't risk a fourth Liberal term. We need a change to lock up the worst offenders, treat addiction, and bring home safety to our communities. Once safe streets have become scenes of chaos and disorder. For too many Canadians, the threat of crime is now an everyday fact of life. It wasn't like this before. Canadians used to walk their streets in safety and tranquility. In small northern Ontario towns, many did not even bother to lock their doors because it was so safe. But starting 10 years ago, the Liberal government began adopting catch and release policies like C5 that allows repeat offenders to do their sentences in their living rooms under house arrest, or C75, which says that the judge must release an accused at the earliest opportunity and under the least onerous conditions, even if that offender has 75 or 100 prior convictions. The result? The Liberal violent crime wave has made many communities unrecognizable. Violent crime is up 50%. Gun crime has soared 116%. Gang homicides are up 78%, and extortion is up 46%. Auto theft is up an eye-watering 357%.
Having spent 3.5 decades in policing, I can tell you that it really wasn't all that great before. Yes, we did see a decline in crime over the past several decades, but it wasn't great, especially in small communities and small Indigenous communities. In Northern Alberta, it was particularly bad. I worked in actually some communities that every couple of years would make the homicide capital of Canada. They didn't need all that many homicides to get there because the population was so low. But it kind of gives you an idea of the struggles that a lot of these communities are going through. And now with the Liberal hug-a-thug programs, it's getting even worse. So I think that these ideas that Pierre is about to reveal to you are really good and will really have a positive impact on crime in Canada.
This is not happening only in our big cities, but in smaller cities like the Sioux. Calls to police are up 7.8% since 2020, and residents have woken up to stories about multiple shootings in a single weekend. Or news of that police had raided an apartment, finding guns, fentanyl, and other drugs. In that case, one of the men who was involved was out on early release. It's an all too familiar story. In Saskatchewan in 2022, Miles Sanderson and his brother went on a killing spree. They killed 11 people and injured 17. Think of that for a moment. 2 men killed or injured 28 human beings. Now, that is bad enough, but what's worse is that it was absolutely preventable. Sanderson was out on statutory release. That is to say, he was released because the law required he be released after 59 prior convictions. 59. This is insane.
It's absolutely insane. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. This guy has proven that he should never have been out on the streets. 59 prior convictions. That is just crazy.
Last year, investigators in Peel Region made 18 arrests in connection with a string of home invasions, armed robberies, carjackings, with over $1.2 million worth of stolen vehicles recovered. Of the 18, half of the offenders were out on bail. Across Canada in 2022, 256 people were charged with homicide while they were out on release, either on bail or parole.
So that's a crazy large number. Think about it. 256 people would have been alive today had they not been attacked by people who should have been in jail. Take a look at this from the Statistics Canada website for a second here. If you notice, in 2022, there were 882 homicides in Canada. So what does that work out to. More than 1/4 of the homicide victims in Canada would have been alive today had they not been attacked by people who should have been in jail.
In Vancouver, police had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means that each offender was arrested on average once every 2 days all year long. And those are just the crimes for which they got caught. Can you imagine being arrested 150 times in a year? You must be doing crime all day, every day for that to be the case.
That's what we call prolific offenders or frequent flyers. But there is something else to consider here. The way Stats Canada collects data may surprise you. If a person is walking home from the bar, let's say, and they start smashing car windows on their way home, and let's say they were very prolific in this event and they smashed 40 windows on 40 different cars. Well, Stats Canada actually counts that as one incident. And if the police arrest them, that's one arrest. So think about this. There were 40 offenders in Vancouver who were arrested 6,000 times, but that doesn't mean they only committed 6,000 offenses. And within those offenses, how many were counted as one incident when they should have been counted as multiple incidents? So you could be the victim of a crime. There could be tons more victims of crimes than people who are actually charged with crime or crimes being charged with. That's something to consider here. Stats Canada has a way of collecting stats that actually make the crime rate in Canada look less than what it is.
In other cities, we have individual offenders who by themselves raise the crime rate for an entire city. There's one offender in Penticton. The police say when he's out of jail, the crime rate for all of Penticton goes up because he by himself does that much crime. The good news is that we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they're very productive. Enough. It's time to lock up the very small group of rampant career criminals who are causing all the chaos. We cannot go on with another 4 years of Liberal catch and release. We need a change to bring safety back to our streets.
Yeah, but if they did that, Pierre, the Liberals wouldn't find anybody who would vandalize and steal signs for them in Ottawa, would they?
That's why I am announcing today that a future Conservative government will bring that change. Not only will we repeal Liberal catch and release laws, we will carry out the biggest crackdown on crime in Canadian history. And we will do it by passing the 3 strikes you're out law. 3 strikes you're out means that anyone convicted of 3 serious offenses will be ineligible thereafter for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. And they will serve a minimum of 10 years behind bars, a maximum of life imprisonment, and they will have to earn their release even still. We will designate such offenders as dangerous offenders, meaning they cannot be released until they have proven that they are no longer a danger to society. Under my watch, the only way for repeat offenders to obtain their freedom will be through spotless behavior and clean drug tests during a lengthy minimum prison sentence with earned release dependent on making real progress in improving their lives, such as learning a trade or upgrading their education.
Well, that sounds good, and I do agree that more needs to be done, but there's something you have to realize here. When a sentence is listed in the criminal code, it's you are liable to that amount of time. So basically it means that is the maximum you can be sentenced to. What happens is you never get that. So let's say the crime says you're liable to 15 years in jail. You could still get probation for that crime. I don't think that is really right. I think that they should have a set penalty for each crime, or maybe a group of crimes. Say we call it an A felony or a B felony or a C felony, much like they do in the States. where judges are more confined in what they can sentence to. What happens now is judges get together and they create these sentencing guidelines. So other judges, they have to comply with these sentencing guidelines, but they can justify going outside those sentencing guidelines. Yes, I agree that there should be some discretion and some compassion, but they should have to be able to justify when they're not giving sentences that are listed in the criminal code for a particular crime. It should be the exception and not the rule. And this question was actually put to Mark Carney as well. And I'm going to play his response here to it because it's, in my opinion, fairly lame. So let's look at the response and then we'll talk about it.
In English, I just say that, look, I'm for serious crimes or habitual crimes, which is the question. The full force of the law should be applied and appropriately severe punishment put in place. I don't jump to a baseball rule of 3 strikes and you're out for a period of time. No, it's a simple answer.
So if you thought Trudeau was soft on crime and that anything would change, that our crime rate would start going down like it had been during the Harper years, well, think again, because Mark Carney is just as soft on crime as Trudeau was. In fact, this question kind of caught him off guard. He had no way of answering it. He's never even thought about this before. No, Mark Carney is not going to be good for Canada in any way, shape, or form. But if you think that the crime rate is too high, if you think that the murder rate is too high, that we're not treating criminals harsh enough, well, you're not going to get any relief or any satisfaction with Mark Carney. He's not going to protect women from domestic violence. He's not going to protect you from getting your vehicle stolen or broken into, or your house getting broken into. He's not going to protect you from getting robbed on the street. He's going to keep people coming in from the United States, smuggling in guns, and committing these crimes. He's going to go after law-abiding citizens. He's going to take our guns away from us so that we can't protect ourselves. Not that we could anyway, because our guns have to always be locked up when they're at home. But you get the idea. He's soft on crime and hard on law-abiding citizens like you and I. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. Also, please join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream, both on YouTube and Rumble, where you're invited to join in on the conversation. Finally, if you reside on Vancouver Island and you wish to get your firearms license, I teach the required courses. So if you'd like to take a course from me, there are links in the show notes of this video to my website where you can sign up for one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.